Hi, Julie Jones from SSB Performance, Smarter, Stronger, Better Mindset Training, here with this week's Mindset Made Simple Tip of the Week, brought to you by Game Day Sportswear, shopgameday.net. This week, we are talking about 3 mental performance tools that you can use anywhere. And when I say anywhere, I mean anywhere. When we think of mental performance tools, we think of performers on a field, on a stage, in front of a client, giving a sales pitch, giving a speech. We need mental performance tools to help us perform at our peak, but we also need mental performance tools to be our best in any type of pressure situation. And boy, have I used these over the past week. Thursday, I get a message from the Cleveland Clinic that says, bring your dad to the emergency room. Now, obviously, it's not a complete emergency or the squad would have picked him up and taken him. But in the meantime, I've got 2 classes to teach. I'm packed and ready to go on a vacation for the weekend to Washington, D.C. with my family. And here we are. We are making a trip to the Cleveland Clinic. If you want to be able to manage your life better, then these 3 tools can help, because I can attest to the fact through my me search this week that they make a difference. They make a difference on the field, they make a difference on the stage, they make a difference in the boardroom, and they make a difference when you need to be the human being that has to show up for the tough stuff. Here are the 3 tools. Tool number one, make a list. However you're going to do it. In your brain, draw a line down the middle of what you can and what you can't control. I have 2 classes to teach. I can cancel one, no problem. The next one, I've got to figure out how I'm going to get there at least for 5 minutes, because it's the first class of the quarter. And now I've got to figure out who can finish the class step by step. When I first started to think about this, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Do I wait and do I do this? Do I do that? If I wait until this long, we're going to be at the clinic really late. And if he doesn't have to stay, will I get to maybe get on the road and go on the trip? And whoa, you turn into a crazy person. You get hijacked. Just like we do when we're trying to be our best on the field, but we start to think of too many things at once. We start to tell ourselves stories about what might or might not happen. I've got an uncooperative patient who doesn't want to go, right? So what do I need to do? First, I need to call my sister and let her know what's going on. Second, and she was just in a hurricane, right? So make sure everything's good down there. Second, I need to cancel the class. Boom, controllable. Then I need to figure out how I'm going to show up to the class. Controllable. And if nothing else after that, it's out of my control. What am I going to do? I've got to do this today. And I worry about the rest of it later. One step at a time. That's not how we operate when we get under pressure. We speed up to slow down. We speed up to think about all the things that might happen in the next hour or the next 2 hours or the next 2 days. And then we can't control the one step at a time. What can I control? What can't I control? I can control getting my dad out of bed, getting him the things he needs, and getting him into the car. That I can at least influence. And then we can go on to the rest of our day and take it however it comes. Easier said than done, of course, but controlling what we can control, sitting down, moving our emotions and our thoughts and our feelings to a controllable or uncontrollable list gives you a second to rein it all back in and say, you know what? I'm a capable human being. I can think. I have resources that most people don't. What do I need to do now? Tool number 1. Tool number 2. The physiological sigh. Oh my gosh, have I done the physiological sigh or diaphragmatic breathing of some sort so often over the past week? And I am so grateful that it's something that I practice on a regular basis. So when I need it, it is there. I can sit in the emergency room and feel my belly filling with air and exhaling and expelling the carbon dioxide that makes me anxious, and regulating my heart rate and regulating my brain waves and opening up my field of vision and lowering my cortisol. All the things that I need to be able to think and ask questions and listen and look supportive, because the way I look matters. Because if I look scared, what's the other person think? As doctors are telling me all the things that are going on, they're talking about admitting and then admitting to the ICU, whatever, breathe and slow it all down on the inside so that I can process what's going on the outside. The physiological sigh is tool number 2. And if you don't practice it, I highly encourage you to go to YouTube, look up Andrew Huberman. There's a 2.5-minute video there on anxiety reducers, but put in physiological sigh, watch that short video, and I guarantee you it will change the way that you manage your stress. Mental performance tool number 3 is I changed my posture. Sitting in a room that is so small and all these people coming in and out, you try to get small to get out of the way, right? You're sitting down because there's nowhere else to go. Or you could stand, and even if you're standing, you're sort of standing in the corner and sort of trying to be not in somebody's way. And all of a sudden, you start to get smaller. You start to round your shoulders. You start to sort of, don't want to be taking up too much space. Think about it. Picture yourself in a small space. Watch yourself round your shoulders and get a little bit smaller. Just because you're afraid and there's no space. You're overwhelmed and there's no space. It's busy and you don't have a medical degree. So it's really hard to ask the right questions sometimes, and you start to take up less space. And then you sit down and it's even worse. Right? So think about how important it is to change your posture. In fact, changing your posture is so important. Nair et al. Did research on people slouching or people sitting with a straight spine. All right. I got big. I lifted my chest. I lifted my chin, stuck my chest out, made my spine stronger and more erect. I widened myself out. I went into the hallway and I was talking on the phone. I got myself wide and big, like the time that I got a hit in the NCAA tournament and I knew we were going to score. Whoa, right? Taking up space. That Nair and his colleagues said that their research, bigger and more upright posture, those with bigger and more upright posture reported higher self-esteem, better mood, lower fear, compared to slumped participants. They also found that slumped participants, so if I would have stayed in the chair or stayed over this way, slumped participants use more negatively charged words and emotion-laden words. They used more first-person singular pronouns. And another study that I read a while ago, which is very interesting, said that people on social media who use I statements, are more depressed than those who use we, or, talked about different people, whatever, when it was about I, me, those people are more depressed. They use fewer positive emotional words and they spoke less overall. So when I talk to teams, we talk about the power pose and the research there, but this research talks not only about what your body does for your physiology, but it also talks about what it does for your emotion. Think about that. When I talk with teams, we talk about diminutive and no action. Assertive, big, assertive. Small, sit and just let things happen. Assertive, observing the landscape, going to get something, being ready, not to fight the doctors, of course. I'm not boom, 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 come to me, but to be able to be alert and be observant and take in information, because I will tell you this right now, that if you don't have an advocate in the hospital, you're screwed. So if I'm going to be that advocate, I need to control what I can control. I need to breathe and get my all my things that you can monitor down into the good range, unlike all my dad's levels that were way out of range. Both of us can't be way out of range. And then I've got to stand up not only for what he needs, but for me to be able to listen and hear and feel better about myself and realize just because I don't have a medical degree doesn't mean that I can't ask an informed and educated question or some sort of a obvious or logical question. But when we get small, we don't even trust ourselves. We don't feel as good, and then we start talking like that. Think about what these tools can do for you in life. Yes, they're vital to our performance on the field. There's no doubt about it. But even more importantly, they are vital to our performance as a human being, as being able to help somebody when they really, really need it the most. So mental performance is not just for performing on a stage or a field or in front of a client. Mental performance tools are vital for anyone who wants to be able to manage themselves so that they can manage other people or situations or their environment. Because if we can manage ourselves in our environment, then we are going to be way better off, and so is everyone around us. So I encourage you to think about where you need to plug in your mental performance tools. And if I can help you with that, I'm in. Shoot me an email at juliej@ssbperformance.com, and let's talk about how these 3 tools and a whole bunch of others can change the way that you manage the next crisis, whether it be pressure or expectations or something a little scarier even. When those things come up, if you practice these things, you'll be ready. It doesn't make it easier, although, just because it doesn't make everything better. It just makes it more manageable. And that makes the people around you feel better, if nothing else. So, juliej@ssbperformance.com. Let's talk about how we can implement these for you. Until next week, control what you can control. Use your physiological sigh and get freaking big. And have a great week.